Hello, Somerset County, and welcome to the Scoop Podcast. My name is Chris Edwards, President of the Somerset County Business Partnership. Before we get to our guest, I want to thank our program sponsors, Unity Bank and Techie Geek. This is a really exciting moment for us. We actually have our first ad read of our podcast, and I'm happy to read it. If your organization is interested in becoming a sponsor or getting more active in 2025, please let us know. We're going to unveil in the next few weeks an opportunity to be a sponsor, be on the podcast, and use the podcast room, so keep an eye out for that. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Techie Geek, your trusted IT superheroes. They specialize in keeping businesses connected, secure, and thriving. From advanced cybersecurity to seamless cloud solutions, Techie Geek has you covered. Visit techiegeek.com or check them out on social at Techie Geek to see how they can power your business forward. Today, we're joined by Chris Zarelli, President of Promo Coach, and more importantly, the immediate past chair of the Somerset County Business Partnership. Welcome to your first podcast, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Yeah, this is my first one. Didn't think I'd ever be on one, so I appreciate it. Hopefully, it's entertaining and not a snooze fest for the millions out there.
The millions and millions. It's one of those things where you do one podcast, you get hooked, and all of a sudden, 2 months from now, you build a podcast studio in your basement. I think my claim to fame was when I came home for the holidays and my grandfather had told me how great the podcast was. I knew I'd made it big time at that moment. But so let's get to the topic of the day. I want to learn more about really the world of promotional materials and where that's going. But before we get to that, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the business. I know it's a family-owned business, and there's a backstory there. So why don't you tell us about Promo Coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm married to my amazing wife, Chrissy. We have 2 girls, and they drive us a little crazy, but they're awesome. And my wife is a rock star in her own sense of her professional career. She works for L'Oreal. So she's a working mom, I'm a working dad, and we have the little kids. So we're in it deep, just like you are with the kids. So it's interesting, but we keep on going, and it's great. A little bit about us. I live in Branchburg. I grew up in Somerset County. I went to Immaculata, so did Chrissy. I'm actually involved with Immaculata. I'm on their board right now, so if anyone has any middle schoolers that are looking for high school information on Immaculata, I'd love to help them out or point them in the right direction. And then one other just fact about me, we're parishioners of St. Anne's Church. I've been a volunteer for their signature fundraising event, which is the St. Anne's Festa, Italian Festa, for 25 years now. We make all of our food from scratch, and it's awesome. And people from Somerset County come all around to check it out and taste the food. Hope you guys can make it in June. In terms of our business, my dad has always been in the print and promo business. So this has always been a part of my life. He formed Promo Coach, or Diversaprint, back in 1991, and for the first 20 years, he really built his business in pharmaceutical industry. Fast forward to 2009, pharma kind of came together collectively and said they're no longer allowed to give out gifts to doctors. And when that happened, that kind of went down to the last pen and notepad too. So my dad took a big hit on business. Couple that with 2009 and the recession, the economy going down, he lost 80% of his business overnight. Wow. Yeah, so it was rough. At that point, I had graduated from St. Joe's University. I was working at American Diabetes Association in charge of the New Jersey walks. Shout out to all my nonprofit friends out there. I know it's a grind, it's tough. But I was on my 3rd year there. I had done well. There was a plan for me to move up, but I was ready to check something else out. So I asked my dad. He said, if you want, you can, but there's not much to work with right there. But there was at least the foundation of 20 years in business. And I said, what the heck? I wasn't married at the time. I didn't have kids. So I went straight commission. I think I made $12,000 that year. But I never looked back. And it was awesome. I love the promotional product industry. I love our clients. We have just a great group of clients all over the place in different fields, small businesses to huge businesses. I love the people that I work with, Randy Davis, Christine Marinelli, Kim Frazier, Lucy Linari, Lynn Bray, and others in the past. Just very fortunate to have a good staff there and get to work with my dad. So that's a benefit too. He's been a great mentor to me. The cool thing about this, just to come full circle, is that when, my dad would come home from trade shows and come home with cool stuff, my brother and I would play with it, or we'd go to the office and immediately find the flashlights and different tchotchkes, as people will call them. And now when I bring my girls to the office, the first thing I do is make a beeline to the fun area with all the samples and the koozies and the stress balls and the toys and stuff. So it's really something awesome to see.
I feel like in that world, there had to be some monster changes from when your dad started the business in terms of what companies use for promotional products. But then on the same, on the same token, like probably a lot of the stuff stayed the same, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of the koozies and the things you mentioned that's been around forever. And I also feel like we're at that point now where what's old is new again, right? So we went so digital at a period that a lot of companies are now going back the other direction to be able to have that physical thing in front of you. So can you talk about like how, when your dad got into it, like what were the big time products and then where it is now and then maybe where it's going in the future?
Yeah, sure. So when my dad got involved in it, it was a lot of the office needs, the pens, the bags, the notebooks, and there was a lot of print material too. He did, the print has since left, and we kind of made that shift to promo more. We still do some print, but we made it more to promo and awards and apparel when he kind of got into the pharmaceutical industry, and that's kind of stayed that way. I would say the biggest advancement in the industry has really been more on the decoration side.
Okay.
So in the past, it was mostly just a one color screen print in one location, small area, or just an embroidery in one area. But now there's different sublimations and different multicolor facets that you can do for decoration. So it's evolved a lot on the decoration side. And then the product just evolves naturally too, right? There's a lot more tech right now, the Bluetooth stuff. There's a lot more retail brands in there that are allowing co-branding, which is pretty big for the industry. People want their logo on a Nike item. They want it on a Carhartt item. They want it on a Travis Matthew or Peter Millar, and they're willing to pay that retail price to co-brand their apparel at least on it.
Yeah, and I have to attest to that. And we at the business partnership, I think we rarely, if ever, had any swag in most of my time here. And then coming out of the pandemic, I think the first realization we had was we wanted to do more trade shows, and we literally had nothing. I'll never forget we did Bridgewater Day by the JCC, and I get there and every company has a tent, swag all over, nice tables, and then we literally just had a 6-foot table, like no tent. It just, people wouldn't even, it didn't even look professional, right?
Yeah, the promo world and space, especially at trade shows, has evolved big time over the years from when my dad was there. It would usually be like just have a pen or something, and now you have to really be creative on it because there's so much competition out there. But you also need a tablecloth, and you need the backdrop and a display, a retractable banner. So we've gotten into the display side of things too. And that's something that's evolved a lot since the company started as well.
Yeah. I think I say this all the time. We've entered the experience economy. So it's not just trade shows, but like when people come to our office, like we want them to have an experience when we're here, or they come to our events, and we have the step and repeat and things like that, where you want people to walk away and go, that was cool. And we got some products here. I think one of the things you're known for amongst our members is some really creative phrases and catch lines, especially like when I'm at the food store and I'm opening my big ass bag. I gotta be careful what I say. I don't want an explicit on our podcast. But can you talk about like some of that stuff? How you've evolved into like eye-catching promotional materials?
Yeah, sure. So historically, basically, companies would have their logo, and they would limit it to just their logo on a product. And I get it. That's the point of what they're supposed to do, and they adhere to the brand guidelines, and that's important too. But what we've tried to do with our self-promos, which just means a promotional product that we use for promo coach, is that we try to incorporate special messaging, funny messaging, targeted messaging, and then have our logo subtle on it.
Right.
And people appreciate that more, and then they use it more. And we're finding that clients are actually doing that as well. They're taking a page out of our book and saying, all right, if the messaging is good, people will use it more. They're still going to remember who gave it to them, and it doesn't have to be just the promo coach logo in their face. So we try to get creative. I would say that we do invest a lot of money into promotional products. We practice what we preach. And there is nothing that we put our logo on that's crap. The promotional product industry does have things that are watered down or that aren't great. But the way I look at it is we wouldn't put our name to a bad job, right? A bad service. So we wouldn't sign our name to a contract that we can't fulfill. Why would we put our logo that we value and that represents our company on a crummy item? And I think that's how people have to look at it moving forward. It doesn't matter if your budget is $500 or $50,000. You want to make sure that you maximize your dollar and your impressions. So that's one of the benefits that we see from our clients, as opposed to clients that might just do it themselves online. Yeah. When you go online and you order stuff, it's easy to do, but you're not getting any advice on it, right? And if you get a crummy pen that was a great price point, it does you no good if that customer you gave that pen to sees your logo as the last thing before they throw it in the garbage can, you know?
Yeah, I made that mistake, I think, before we met. I think it was at a previous company I was at. We did thumb drives, and we ordered cheaply. And what happened was they were fine, but when people used them, they were putting them into their computers, and the computer was saying, like, this is potential spam or malware, and they wouldn't allow people to download anything onto them. So there's that type. You be careful what you get when you're going for the cheapest value.
Yeah, it reminds me of a time I had a meeting with Johnson & Johnson, and they placed this big order with us, and one of the items was an item they specifically asked for. It was a flashlight that had an umbrella that had a little flashlight at the bottom. And I knew it was a crummy item, but they requested it, and I didn't really fight back. And this was early on in my career, so it was a good learning lesson. And sure enough, they get it. They open it up one time, the thing falls apart, and then they get drenched. And here they're calling me up. So, and I apologize, but I think that's one of the things that it built my confidence up with it. When people ask for a certain item, and if I know it's poor quality, especially if it's a functional item like a USB drive that's going into an expensive computer or anything that has to do with our phones these days, I make sure it's quality and that it'll work, because you don't want it to backfire like that.
No, I absolutely agree. So, for the small businesses who are listening to this, that I think sometimes just immediately categorize it as, I don't have the budget for that. Like, what are some ideas in terms of what a small business could do to get their name out there without breaking the budget?
Yeah, no problem. Small businesses, they still range in what people do, right? So there's two examples. I think you could build in money to your previous sales on your future sales. Meaning, if you're a realtor, right, and you sell 10 houses, the house, whether the house is $300,000 or $3 million, you could find a way to incorporate $200 extra into that sell price, and then use that $200 to either say $100. You give them a nice promo that says, congratulations on your new home. Take that other $100 and save it for future promotions to build your promo budget. And that's just an easy way to do it. Build it into the cost where you're not going to lose a sale, but it's not going to be noticeable, and you'll be able to use it moving forward. Or you could be like a pest control company and say you do 500 transactions a year. Are you able to, on that $120 transaction, make it $122 and then build up that nest and do the same thing? Invest that into the budget for the next year. And then start small. You don't have to have millions of dollars or thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars to come up with a successful promo. I think the important thing is that you reach out to a promo professional like ourselves, instead of just doing it online, or somebody else that's just a live person you can talk to, and see how you can maximize your dollar. The important thing is that, you spend the money and the product is going to be favorable impression of your company, right? Otherwise, you're just wasting it, whether your budget is $500 or $5,000.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's perfect. I think, especially in the world of digital, I think we always talk about how hard it is to connect to mid and large size companies. I think being smart with maybe ways you can tie your marketing budget into a sales, prospecting budget, and kind of merging those two together. That's definitely something we've talked about a lot here at the partnership. Real quick, you've been a member here longer than I've been here. I think 15 years. You helped run the young professionals. You got involved in many different ways. I remember using you as an example for when your family moved to Arkansas, about how we had a company who still utilized services of the partnership, being over 1,000 miles away. So Can you talk about the importance you found about not just being involved with us? I know you're in part of other associations and what that means for you and your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I actually had 2 stints with the business partnership. One when I was with the ADA, I said I want to join a business of a chamber of commerce to make sure I can try to expand on our fundraising efforts and such. And then I really got more involved with the business partnership when I joined Promo Coach, Diversiprint. And it's super important. You know, I saw when I first entered that there was 2 types of people there. There was one that was just selling me a member, and I didn't like that. I didn't like being sold like that, and I didn't want to be that person, which was a good lesson. And then I saw another group of people at the partnership where they were just very engaging with other people, and they're laughing and talking and hugging and kissing, and it's like they know each other. It's like an Italian family reunion type of thing. And I could tell that they weren't really talking about business. You know, it's just they knew each other. I knew business was happening, but I didn't know how they got there. So when I got to Diversiprint, I knew that, you know, I got to make money, I got to make connections. I really took those steps forward. And I made some great connections down the line, you know, from the various roles at the partnership and volunteer roles. But I'd say like the best thing that came out of being involved with the business partnership in all these is that, you know, in typical New Jersey fashion, I got a guy or a girl for anything, right? And people know that. Like my network can come to me and say, I need a pest control company, I need a travel agent, I need a realtor, I need a nursing home. And I'm able to send them to somebody that I trust, that I know will treat them well. And I can call them up and say, so-and-so is going to reach out to you, and they will roll out the red carpet for them. And I think a lot of people don't have that network. And that's just about being involved with different types of people in the partnership, being involved in the community as much as possible. And if business happens, so be it. But there's something to be said for when you have a good database and you're someone to lean on.
No, obviously as staff, we have access to a lot of people, and there's something reassuring about knowing if something happens in your life, even outside of business, that you know where to go to and know who to ask. So I think that's really cool.
It's huge. I mean, you go on Facebook forums and people are asking for these things to their neighborhood. They don't even know who's referring this person, if they're licensed, if they're quality. They're going on Google and looking at their ratings, and it's just like an angry Yelper type of thing. So it's important to have. You know,
we have that. We have people in my neighborhood. They go on Ring, and they post on there of like, does anyone know of a hazard mitigation company or something? And it's like, it's a cry for help at that point.
Oh yeah, that's bad news.
So to end our podcast, we like to do a segment called 5 Faves. Gives the opportunity for members to learn a little bit about you. When we go to networking events and stuff, and get a chance to know a little bit more. So a little bit of a rapid fire here. So I'm going to throw some things out at you and tell me what comes to the top of your head. So the one I always love to start off with is what's your favorite place to eat at in Somerset County?
Oh, we're foodies. Uncle Vinny's Clam Bar in Raritan, Espo's in Raritan. They have a great cheesesteak on Fridays for lunch. Char in Raritan, people know them for their steaks, but their other stuff, don't sleep on their gnocchi's unbelievable. I'll give a couple shout outs actually on this one. K&S Italian Delicacy in Bridgewater on the Circle. They've been there forever. The Rosado family, they're great.
Yep.
Hind & Four, I'm a big cooker, so I always go to Hind & Four, which is my #1 butcher in the area, and they do a great job. Rick Angelica at Carnita's Taco Factory, and then in that same strip, Carlo at Carlo's Pizza. They have a great grandma drunken vodka pie. So
that might have been the best one I've had response for that question so far. Changing it up big time here. What's someone who's been to every event we've had? What's your favorite partnership event you look forward to every year?
Actually, it might surprise you. My favorite partnership event is the International Women's Luncheon Breakfast. For a few reasons, actually, because we were an original sponsor when it first launched. I've seen it grow. It's a great event. I know a lot of people in the room, and there's something about women in business and just the gene in women where they really work well together, and they pick themselves up, and there's just such a good energy in that group. In our industry, actually, the majority of our buyers are women. So it's also great for me to get the perspective of women in business in that room. And it's just a great event. I look forward to that, and we're sponsoring it again. We give away a great gift, and people always are so appreciative of it. And plus, I'm surrounded by women all the time, so what's a few hours with a few hundred more,
I think I got you beat there. There's a few more women in this office than men. So just a little shout out, March 6th, International Women's Day brunch. If you're following the partnership, you're going to see a lot about that coming up. Favorite promotional item solution you've done for a client? Do you have something that really sticks out as like, that was cool?
Solution. Okay, yeah. So we've done a lot of really cool stuff for something. I give an actual solution though. So a insurance company, a big insurance company, reached out to me one day and they said, we need fidget spinners for an event. And I said, fidget spinners are a piece of crap. You don't want that. So they laughed about it and I said, well, what do you expect? I said, well, what's the clientele? What are you looking to do? So they're going to an event with lawyers, accountants, and financial advisors. Basically, your typical suits. And so I said, all right, let me think of a couple things. But what comes to mind immediately, it's going to be more expensive than a fidget spinner, is a Tide to Go stick. The Tide sticks that you see in the stain remover. I said, Procter & Gamble has that, and they allow for co-branding right now. And they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's try that. We don't need to get us anything else. So they just ordered the minimum of 250. I got a call after the show a few weeks later, and they said they'd never seen a promo have that much success at a show and a buzz. And they ordered that, and they continued, and they've probably ordered 20,000 plus since that. So I have a feeling I wouldn't have gotten a repeat on the fidget spinner. I have a feeling they wouldn't have gotten the same response from the fidget spinner, but that was a good solution that we were able to provide. Yeah,
no, great answer. That's perfect. One of the things Chris and I have bonded with over the years is our love and pain with Rutgers athletics. So I put in here, what's your favorite Rutgers sports moment? I mean, there's only a few to pick from. So.
Well, I have one personal one that no one else would really know about. So Rutgers is actually a client of ours. We're a vendor over there. So I work with the athletic department on a lot of awesome promos. So one real cool one that we did was the Great New Jersey debate, Taylor ham versus pork roll. And we had this awesome winter cap beanie that we put together, and the creative team at Rutgers put together a nice design for Taylor ham and pork roll. First 500 people at the rack for a basketball game got the pork roll hat. The other ones got the Taylor ham, and that was just a cool promotion to see. And personally, to see people wearing our stuff in the crowd was awesome. But I mean,
I was there that night. By the way,
Were you?
I'm a pork roll guy.
Oh,
I grew up
me
in
too.
South Jersey.
Me too.
So.
All right, good. All right. So the number one, absolutely best, November 9th, 2006. I'm 40 rows up on the 40-yard line with 40,000 plus fans. Rutgers hosting number 3 undefeated Louisville in football. The buzz going into that week was awesome. The tailgate was amazing. The pre-show was unbelievable. The game itself, the back and forth was just awesome. And the ball going through the uprights for the Rutgers win was, as Carlin said, pandemonium and Piscataway. And that was just such an awesome sports moment that I experienced. I was with my dad, my Uncle Jim, a bunch of other people. And like you said, as sports fans of Rutgers, we've had some pretty crummy times. Yeah. And that was one that I'll cherish forever. And it was just an awesome, awesome night. And to go back and see that later on at night, and you see that Ito points up to the camera in the sky, just awesome.
Yeah, so I show that to my boys when I tell them about what, the glory days were. Like I was a student there. I wasn't there for that game. I was there for the USF game.
I was there
when
too.
we ran the field then. But I show that to my kids now as like, this is what we're striving for one day.
It was awesome. And New Jersey was just behind that team, and that was just a special time.
Yeah, yep. Last one, favorite vacation spot when you need to get out of Somerset County? We all have a spot we need to go to.
Yeah, on a day like this where it's 20 degrees out, get me the hell out of here. I'm taking a one-way trip to West Palm Beach, and I'll find my way to Square Grouper Tiki Bar in Jupiter, Florida.
Is your parents there? Is that you drop the girls off at grandma and grandpa's house?
We know a lot of people in that area. It's awesome. So yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Or I might just go by myself and get the breather.
Yeah. Well, that does it for this edition of the Scoop Podcast. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. And until we talk again.
Thanks, Chris.